I turned that off.
Yeah, I better send it to mine too.
Good evening and welcome. This is the Littleton Zoning Board of Appeals, meeting of April 18th, 2024. We're at 37 Shattuck Street, Littleton, Mass. It's a 7 o'clock meeting. It's been advertised and posted, and we are live. We are not Zooming, but a recording of it can be found on LCTV after we're finished. I think they watch it, you can watch it live too, but you can't participate live. I'm just going to remind the board before we go too far that when we go through this hearing, I'm going to tell you what the order of things are and what the rules are that we follow, but also I'm going to remind the board, because it came up on another matter this week, that Littleton has adopted the Code of Ethics for town boards and committees, and fortunately we usually abide by it and we don't need to be lectured on it, but reminding everybody that courtesy is foremost, that we have to treat all the applicants with courtesy and respect. We need to treat each other board members with courtesy and respect, and it's really okay for our board to disagree, but we have to be civil about it and accept that there will be differences of opinion. So thank you for letting me remind everyone of that. It was adopted by the selectmen and it was asked to be reminded. Okay. 7 o'clock p.m. We first have minutes to review, and if you have read them and want to give me any changes, let's talk about that.
I'm pulling them up as we speak.
I only saw a,
There's a typo.
I saw a couple of incomplete sentences, but that's the way the minutes
Okay,
usually go.
so
I'm
in
okay.
attendance, I'd like my first name, please.
Yep.
I realize I have two last names, Lucia, but, which I use indiscriminately, but it'd be nice if my first name was there too.
Okay.
And other than that, I thought they were fine. Anyone else?
I had just questioned my own memory. On page 2, third paragraph, I don't like the word, it's the way it's worded. Gould stated that the proposed is going to be an attached structure, therefore the setback will be 15 feet. I think therefore is misplaced. An attached structure with, which requires a setback of 15 feet, and it was originally detached with a setback of 10. I don't think it ended up being 15, that's why I want to take the therefore out. And then, I think that was it. There was something Stuart commented that didn't make a full sentence, and I just want to get that.
Stuart commented that supports the idea of a proposed garage.
Yeah, I just wanted to clear that sentence up because I don't know what it, do you have it in front of you?
No,
Here, I'm just gonna-
I lost the email somehow, and I asked for the packet, she didn't send me the minutes, so,
Just look at this sentence and tell me what it is you commented, because it wasn't a complete
assuming
sentence.
I remember.
Yeah.
Just so you folks
Oh,
know,
I
the
don't know about
meetings,
support. Maybe I said I liked the idea it was behind the house, I don't remember in detail.
the meeting is scheduled,
Support.
the hearing is scheduled for 7:15, so we can't start first, so we're doing minutes and administrative stuff.
How about he supports the idea?
Or liked the idea,
I
I don't know.
don't like using feelings. He supports the idea, that it's behind. No, you want to say like, how about
How about likes?
how about he supports the location of the proposed garage being away from the road and behind? Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
And I thought I had one more, but I didn't. I reviewed them online and I didn't have an edit feature on this Adobe version, so I didn't write it.
We gave them down to 5 feet.
Yeah, and I think it's a, I think it's, other than that, the minutes were accurate. So does anybody want to make a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Second?
Second.
Who said second? John, so Cheryl and then John Field. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next is member comments, and I would like to start with a member comment to tell everybody who's watching live and everybody who's here that Mr. Vance is our newest alternate, and Darrell Baker, who's not here tonight because he's on a business thing, was also one of our newer appointees as an alternate, and both gentlemen are running for planning board this election on May 7th. So please look at their qualifications and think about them. This is Mr. Vance, and you may know Mr. Baker because he's held town offices before.
I have a member comment. Candidates Night is coming up in this room, the 24th of April, right around the corner. Please come, please participate. Everyone gets a chance to write their questions down. Tim Goddard moderates and asks the questions, and it's a good evening to meet all the candidates.
Date, time, and place again?
7 p.m., the 24th,
And where?
here, in this room.
And I'm sure on cable.
No refreshments?
Oh, we do have refreshments. We will have cookies and bottles of water. And we will have little 3x5 index cards for people to write their questions down, so it's clear that, so they're anonymous and all that good stuff. And we will have pens courtesy of Main Street Bank.
Great.
They already gave me 100 of them.
Thank you.
And it's sponsored by the Rotary.
The other thing I wanted to go over is mail, and I don't have any mail except for the next hearing that's coming up. There was an abutter email, but that will be read during the hearing and when the hearing is open. Anybody else? Okay, well, we can play for 5 minutes because we can't open the hearing until it's 7:15.
I think it's at 7:10.
Did it? You were right.
We still
2
have to-
minutes, then we can play for 2 minutes.
We still have to play for 3 minutes. Whatever. I
We
could talk
went-
more about candidates night.
I was going to say, we went to the baseball game today, and it was miserable.
Yeah,
The weather was
they are-
miserable, the traffic was miserable.
They are miserable this year.
Oh, and the team is miserable.
Did you-
Usually I'm optimistic, but today was a bad day.
Yeah.
Did you take the kids?
Yeah, the grandkids.
But the games go much faster with the pitch clock.
You
Yeah.
think so?
The
Yeah,
games fly by now.
yeah.
Well, yesterday's was crazy, 149.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah,
One of the
that was awesome.
Several years.
An hour 49? Well, they were already in the bottom of the fourth by the time I parked.
Yeah.
That's how bad the traffic was.
So the Rotary is also doing a carnival this year in
That's
June.
exciting.
And the carnival company, it's going to be on the parking lot for where the IBM building is now, where Sal's has bought it. They're going to let us put a carnival there. And the carnival company has guaranteed us a minimum profit, even if it rains all weekend, of $10,000. And 100% of that has been earmarked to go to TRED. If you guys know what TRED is the fund the town has to help elders in need pay their property taxes.
Very nice.
So that's a targeted fundraiser for TRED. So we're proud to be doing that. And Rotary is also going to set up a little beer garden. So we have all the local brewing companies coming around, and we have a bunch of bands volunteering to play. And Sal's going to put his pizza truck there because he can't put it with the carnival because they have their own food.
Very nice.
Isn't that exciting?
Yeah, that'll be a good festive day.
And
What day?
Appleman, that is in June, and I don't remember the date. Appleman is also coming up. Appleman is Rotary's major fundraiser. Last year, we netted over $35,000, and we have given all of it away this year. We,
Also, the Duckies coming up, right?
the Ducky Wucky race is coming up. That's Air Shirley's major fundraiser. Ours is the Appleman, and it's our 20th year, and our goal this year is $50,000.
Nice.
So we give our money away in dribs and drabs to anyone who asks. We do everything from support one more minute. We do everything from support the Eagle Scout projects on conservation land to last year we gave $5,000 to TRED. We also, we we probably gave money to 30 different charities and helped support 30 different charities. And we did things like blanket drives and there, have I filled the time? If you want to join Rotary, just talk to me.
Okay. The time is 7:10 PM. I'm calling case number 24-971, case of 26, 28, and 30 Cricket Lane. The petitioner, Peter McAnaspey, seeks a variance or a special permit pursuant to 17310 and 17331 for the construction of a single-family dwelling on a pre-existing non-conforming lot and such other business as may properly come before the meeting. And I think we said a variance or a special permit. I would like to just go over a couple of housekeeping matters. The hearing's been open. First of all, I need to make an announcement that some years back, I was asked to come to the property by an owner or two owners. I can't even remember, it's so long ago, and I've checked my file, and I do not believe I acted in any legal capacity on that matter. I think I met with them and suggested that they needed to use a different lawyer than myself. But because of that, I've sent a notice, as I'm required, that there's a potential for the appearance of a conflict of interest. I sent it to the appointing authority, and I wanted to announce that if anyone in this room has an objection to my sitting on this matter and sharing it, please let me know. I would recuse myself. I have no financial interest in the outcome. I don't believe I'm biased or even remember who the parties were, and I'm sure I can be impartial. So if anyone wants me to recuse, please speak now. Okay?
Since you aren't recusing, I am. My reasons for this is one of the salespeople in my office 4 years ago helped this gentleman buy one of these pieces of land. And while it was 4 years ago and I'm not required to recuse myself because it's more than a year ago, I'm going to step down because I don't want anyone to feel there was anything wrong. And we do have a full board, so you don't need me.
It was actually very kind of you to come, just in case, because there was a possibility. She's the vice chair. If I was being asked to recuse, she would have to take over. And if we didn't have a full board, I wanted to be sure you all had 5 members here. So if you're recusing,
I am.
then I am going to appoint Jonathan Vance, our alternate, as a sitting member to vote on this matter.
So I don't have to recuse, but I am recusing because we do have enough, and I don't want, do I have to leave the room
No,
still?
you can sit in the room and you can participate.
Oh, I
but
don't
you
want to participate, but I'll sit quiet in the back.
Okay. And you can't make faces at us.
Now, that's going to be the hard part.
Okay. The other housekeeping matters are this. This is the way the board conducts its business, and when I have a full house, I like to make sure everybody's aware of it. The first thing we do is we ask the applicant to present the case. Board members, if you have any questions as the applicant is presenting, please hold them and make notes until the applicant is finished. Then I will ask the board if the board has any questions, not comments, questions for clarification. Then I will ask all the abutters who want to speak to be heard to come forward and be heard. I'm advised tonight that we have a little bit of a computer situation, and so anyone who needs to speak or wants to speak needs to do it from this podium, including you.
Okay, all right.
Wait, you got it all set?
He's got it fixed.
So he doesn't have to go to the podium?
Nope.
And I wanted to see him at the podium.
I can do that if you want.
And when you speak, I need you to identify yourself by name and address, please. Okay. So I guess we will open the hearing, and the applicant is being represented according to the submittal by engineer Kevin Conover from Ross. So Kevin, floor is yours.
Sure, thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Kevin Conover. I'm from David Ross Associates, and I represent Peter McAnaspey for submission of a special permit tonight for property located at the end of Cricket Lane. Currently, there are 3 houses at the end of Cricket Lane that are all owned by Mr. McAnaspey. If anybody's taken a walk out there, they saw that they're all in disrepair. But there are 3 buildings out there. It is my client's intention to construct one single-family house on all 3 of those parcels, demolishing the other 3 buildings and constructing one. We've already obtained a Board of Health permit for our septic system for this property. We've already obtained an order of conditions from the Conservation Commission for this property. So this is the last phase of the project in terms of approvals. We're seeking here a special permit, I believe, Sherry, that we decided.
I think you need to address why you think it's one or the other, and I think this board is going to vote. I'm going to let the board vote on which it should be.
So we think it's a special permit because it's we're requiring approval to do this project. The three buildings that are on the property are pre-existing non-conforming structures on pre-existing non-conforming lots. The new house will not increase the non-conforming nature of the existing houses. So therefore, we don't think a variance is required. We think a special permit is more of a better process to go through because, again, it's three lots, and it's now currently owned by one person with 3 dwellings on it. And we're just trying to construct one. So again, the proposed house will not be any closer to any property lines than the existing buildings are. It's actually further away from the pond, which the Conservation Commission was in approval of. And again, the lots were created on a plan done in 1946, recorded at the Registry of Deeds. The current deed references that 1946 plan. The Cricket Lane is shown as a right-of-way on that 1946 plan. There is a passageway that bisects the lots 3 feet wide on either side of a lot line that begins at Cricket Lane and ends at the pond. So we're seeking a special permit for the construction of a single-family 2-bedroom house on this property.
Can you tell us, maybe using the map, in which ways it's non-conforming, please?
So, first of all, it doesn't have enough frontage. Doesn't have enough area as required by the town. It does not meet the side 15-foot side setback. It meets this setback, but it does not, it meets the rear setback, so it just doesn't meet the northerly property line setback. But as the existing plan shows, the setback on the existing house was about 2 feet. Here, the setback is closer to 6 feet. So we're further away from the property lines. Again, we're further away from the pond and the existing structures. And we're making it less non-conforming because each one of those lots were only around 12,000 square feet. So we're combining all 3 of those to have one larger lot that's going to take one house.
Board members' questions, please?
How do we bridge that gap between the variance and special permit?
I was hoping you wouldn't ask me.
Okay.
What is concerning me about this proposal is the following. You have 3 pre-existing non-conforming lots. There is some argument that once you combine lots, you lose your pre-existing non-conforming blessing, I think.
I agree.
Even though you've added. Do you agree with that? Because I've been puzzling over that for a couple of weeks now. And so if you lost the pre-existing non-conforming nature of this, I think you have to elevate this to a variance. And I ask every board member, what's your feeling? John, you've got the most experience with zoning in your business, so what's your feeling about that?
I believe the simplest test is, are you creating any new nonconformities?
No. We're actually decreasing the nonconformities.
I'd agree with you if you were keeping the 3 structures and you were asking for permission to somehow improve them or to make changes to them. But I think when you create a new lot, you are now not only subject to the dimensional requirements, but you do lose any protection of the pre-existing non-conforming structures.
So I understand what you're saying, but it's our belief that if the structures were gone, then we would lose that grandfather, and that we'd lose that aspect of it. But since the structures are still there, we don't lose any of that. And again, in terms of variance special permit, because there are 3 structures on the property, and we're taking all of them down, we think would it be easier for a special permit. So again, in terms of a variance, we need a variance because it's a pre-existing non-conforming lot. And the structure would not conform to the setback requirements. Is that easier than a special permit? Possibly.
That's really not, I think, what John said. What John said is, you have a brand-new lot now. It's a non-conforming lot because we need an acre to conform, we need frontage to conform. So what you need is a variance now to frontage and size and setback. I think that's what John is saying, and I'm not sure I disagree, but that means then you would have to give us some criteria for uniqueness and hardship.
For the proposed house or the
For the
existing?
Proposed
So-
new lot and the proposed house,
Okay,
yes.
so if we're going the variance route, the proposed house will be less non-conforming than the existing structures that are on the lot. In particular, the one that's closest to where the house is going to be built. Like I said, that existing house is only 2 feet off the property line. We're going to be further away from the pond and further away from the setback. So in terms of a variance, then we'd be seeking both a dimensional because of that setback and also because of frontage and area.
And just so that I'm clear, it is one lot now, it's not the 3.
It's 3 separate lots and 3 separate deeds, all owned by Mr. McAnesky.
It makes it less clear.
It makes it less clear, but we can make any decision contingent on them deeding into one parcel and combining it, and maybe even filing a
Absolutely.
81L plan or whatever that is.
Absolutely.
X, what is it?
81X.
X.
And in that case, we probably don't need an 81X. An 81X is a plan that does not create any new property lines. Because all the lots were already shown on a plan recorded at the registry of deeds. An attorney can
That's-
easily
that's true, yeah.
those
Oh.
3 lots on one deed.
But I think it's okay for us to condition our decision on there being a combined result either way. What is, I think I had asked you the question about the new house. Is it going to span 2 lots, or is it all contained in the one lot that I looked, that looks like it's
The majority of it is on that first lot,
the,
and it crosses the property line
Does
of the
cross
lot
the
line slightly. But those lots, like I said, are extremely small. They may have mischaracterized the size of them. I think they may even be smaller than that. So, yeah, they are. So the lot that the house is proposed to be constructed on is 2,800 square feet. The other one is 3,700 square feet. And the furthest one down the hill is 2,600 feet. So obviously pre-existing non-conforming. So to construct a house on a 2,300 square foot lot with private septic is difficult.
which may go to the hardship argument, and the uniqueness obviously is that it's a lake lot pre-existing zoning, so it was created without the benefit of needing frontage or conformity in size to what our current zoning bylaw says. So I think he's established either way that it's, that he can do it as a pre-existing non-conforming, or if we decide it needs to be a variance. But I have some other questions, but who else on the board has any?
Good question. So is there any reason why the house can't be pulled a little further away from that property line? Than 6 feet?
So it's kind of a balancing act between the soil testing that was done, the topography of the property, and access to the road. So if you've been out to the site, it kind of falls
Oh, yeah.
off pretty quick down after that street. So the closer you get to that terminus of Pacific Lane, the less impact you'll have in terms of grading, all within the buffer zone, so on and so forth. So, and it's actually, it kind of sits nice in that little corner. I think when it'll be done, it'll open up the rest of the parcel, because they won't have the buildings there. And those buildings are in serious need of,
One in particular.
exactly, yeah, there's one in particular that, I mean,
The other question I have is, you don't show on the plans where the parking is going to be,
Okay, so.
and how many parking spots do you have?
Sure, so, I didn't show that, but on the, oh, sorry.
Excuse me one second. Is there anybody here that needs to see the plan as we're talking? Because I'm going to ask you, if we don't have to be over there, can you put it on that wall so everyone in the room who's here can see what you're talking about? Thank you. Right on the ledge. Put it right in front of the window.
So this is the site plan we did for conservation and Board of Health. And you can kind of see the area where the driveway is going. It looks small, but it actually isn't. From the end of Cricket Lane to where the end of the driveway is, it's about 38 feet, 12-foot driveway. And then we're proposing a little turnaround area so you can, better access, so there won't be any cars parked on the street. So parking is not large.
No,
Sure, you'll have.
but there are, no parking lot on the street in the wintertime.
Exactly, no parking, and again, it'll all be encompassed within the lot.
As I look at this plan, I see Cricket Lane, and then I see sort of a trapezoidal piece that does not look like locus. Then I see
That's the right of way, yep.
That's the right-of-way. Where are you saying is the yellow, you're saying the parking is in the yellow right-of-way?
Nope, absolutely not. Parking will all be encompassed within this lot right here.
No, I can see, that over there.
Yeah, it's-
I can see the red spot.
But the,
Brown, it's red from here.
but the, how do you say it, McAnespie property, McAnespie property uses the right-of-way, as I recall Cricket Lane ending, and then you use the right-of-way to get onto the McAnespie property, okay.
Absolutely, like all the other lots do down
Okay,
there.
yeah, okay.
Well, this is showing no frontage on Cricket Lane, so where does the driveway come in? Does it go across that lot? Right
Yeah,
there?
it actually does. I'll show it to you here. So this is where the driveway would go. So it'll come down off the end of Cricket Lane. And like I said, it's about 39 feet from here to here. Has a little turnout area.
But how does it access across this property line? Is there an easement that allows
Nope.
that?
There's a right-of-way that was shown on the plan done in 1946.
Okay, because I don't see it here.
I think it's in the
My
deed,
question.
though.
It is.
See, it comes right
Yeah,
up there.
this is it right here. So these are the three lots that they're developing. So this right-of-way comes in there.
Oh, the yellows are right away?
Exactly, those are easements, and it says, it's hard to see, but it says right-of-way here.
Okay, oh, so this is not somebody's lot, this is a lot with a house on it.
This is the house on the lot, and they also own this lot. Our client owns these three.
Okay, and so this easement's granted over there.
That's correct. That's correct. And like Sherry said, and all the lots down at that end of Cricket Lane use that right-of-way to access.
What number Cricket is that last one? Is that the 26?
This one here, the existing house, the houses we're tearing down are 26, 28, and 30.
Which one is 26? B,
This is 26, the lower one.
the lower one, okay.
28 and 30.
So I thought I saw on the deed to, maybe I'm thinking of something else, but I thought I saw on the deed to Lot B that it specifically calls out that right-of-way.
That's correct.
And I just want to point the board to that.
That's the different one, though. That's the walking one?
No, the walking one is a different one. I think one of them called out the specific rite of passage, yeah.
So even though you have a driveway here, anybody can use the rest of this right away?
So the way it works is the plan was created in 1946, and there's implied rights of way to all the lots that are shown on that plan to use those rights of way. Obviously, the one that goes down the hill and is bisected at the property line is in the center of that right of way. It's not for vehicles, never was.
But access to the lake.
Exactly. That'd be, for pedestrian access.
And do pedestrians access the lake I see where they get to the lake. Do they access the lake only through that 3-foot portion that runs to the lake that you've marked in yellow there? That's confusing to me too.
So it's an older plan, and as you know, so the right-of-way actually continues down to where the edge of the pond was in 1946. Whether that's where the pond is located now, I can't speak for that, but
And then the septic is on, so the driveway would, turnaround area would come between the holding tank and the first.
Absolutely.
Okay, that was a concern.
The other question I had in reviewing the materials is, Conscom seemed to have a reservation as recently as a month ago, and I've lost it now, but didn't they weigh in and say, your notice of intent was filed some time ago, and then you went back for an amendment. So do you have a conservation order right now?
it's my understanding the Conservation Commission approved the notice of intent as submitted based upon that plan.
When?
I know.
Yes.
It was August of 2021.
That's what I have, is the August of 2021 one.
So notice.
To my understanding, it was valid for 3 years.
Thank you, that's what I saw, thank you.
Madam Chair, Madam Chair, there's a young lady back here who wants to address the right-of-way.
Yeah, we'll get there, thank you. I'll get to you as soon as we finish with the board questions, then it'll be about his turns.
Thank you.
Okay, so I need that letter, and, did I print your whole email so I don't miss anything? Did anybody print the email from
Which one?
Mr. Butter that I'm going to ask for
I have.
next?
I did
Just
too.
put that here so we can read those into the record. Okay. Okay, any other questions from the board? Are you satisfied that you understand what's going on here? And
Did have one more.
Go ahead.
From the plans, it appeared, I think, that is this a modular build?
No, I submitted house plans. I don't believe it's a modular. It is?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll go
There's,
modular.
the
Yeah,
porch
because there was a
and the
note about it, they weren't sure the size, final size, based on what they could get down the road.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I can see after doing down the road,
Well, that's actually maybe better than trying to construct the thing.
Yeah.
Now, is that house a one-story?
Right.
one at a
It's like
time.
two.
I don't see how an operator to make that work, but that's.
they need a bigger crane.
Yep. One at a time, then Rod.
Is the house a one-story house?
So it is, it's a two-bedroom, it has a walkout in the back toward the lake, but it's a two-story. It meets the height requirements in the town, which is 32 feet. I have a copy of the plans if you'd like to look at them.
No, and the height of the roof, would that be above the Cricket Lane elevation?
Yeah, I believe it would be, yeah.
Do you know how much? There were some comments about view obstruction, so just
Yep.
wondering how
Yep.
much.
So I can address that issue as well. So the grade at Cricket Lane is about 198 for an elevation. We have a first floor of 192, so it'll probably be maybe 10 feet, maybe 15 feet higher than the elevation of Cricket Lane.
And the second question that I had around the modular, so with the crane, it's the accessibility component, especially with the holding tank there. So this might be processed, this holding tank going in after the house is, so it'll be redug up in that spot to,
Yeah, it's typically with the construction of houses, the septic system will go in last, so trucks don't drive over them, lumber's parked on them, so the holding tank will most definitely go in last.
And I just had an experience at our own summer cottage when they dug the foundation near the lake like that. It filled with water, and so the foundation guys raised the foundation, which raised the house up. Has any test boring been done?
Well, they did testing, soil testing for the holding tank as required by the Board of Health. That area of Littleton is all sand and gravel, so I don't think water would be a problem. However, everything's a problem now with water, so. But the house will not be raised.
On a slab or a basement?
Like I said, it's a walkout, so the basement is the
Grade
walkout
level.
portion of correct in the back. But the first floor is at grade, and the second floor, the basement is at the lower grade.
Any other questions of the board?
One more, which is, so it's essentially the 2.5 story, because the basement, I didn't see plans for the second floor in this, that you might have.
Did you get a copy of the house plans that were submitted?
I got the full 75-page packet, and then the plans that were in there.
Is that those the plans?
This is the first floor for sure. Okay, yeah, I didn't have the second floor in mind. Basement.
And there's a profile in there too of the house, the roof line. So the only thing it'll look like a ranch from Cricket Lane, because the only thing you'll see is the first floor on the roof. But from the pond side, it'll have two stories. And I think there's a profile of the rear of it. And you know, obviously, to take advantage of the pond.
Okay, so the first story is a walkout, it's not a basement.
So a walkout, that means the basement is living space. And
Yeah, the second floor is one floor above the basement, or you have actually three
So like I
floors.
said, when you look at the house from Cricket Lane, it'll look like a ranch.
But if you look at it from the lake,
Pond, it'll look like two floors, and there's a profile.
okay,
So, yeah,
so the basement is the first floor.
yeah, so this is the back side of the house from
Yeah,
the lake.
okay, so it is like a three-story.
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to figure out. So there is no second floor. Are these just windows that come into the first floor?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, so that's why there's no second, that's why there's no second floor plan.
Isn't this the second floor up here?
Well, if this is the first
Yeah.
floor, this is, he's saying it's just the windows coming in for extra light.
Oh, this is all one floor here.
There's no other floor plan in the basement. This is the bonus room, I think, in the basement. Okay. Interesting.
John, is that what you're saying? Is that what you're seeing? Any other questions? Okay, I'm going to ask you to sit back just so the abutters can come up and get close to the table if they want to.
Before I leave, I just want to show you the board some pictures that were taken by a drone showing the property from the pond side. And there's a couple that are significant, but the area, this first one is a drone from Cricket Lane. So this is Cricket Lane here, and these are the three houses. I think there's one here, here, and then here. Okay. So that's kind of an orientation of how the buildings relate to Cricket Lane. Okay. And those pictures were taken about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago.
Where am I on Cricket Lane here? Where am I standing on Cricket Lane?
So the terminus of Cricket Lane, the end of pavement is right there.
And then I'm
Should
looking
be
at
right here.
1, 2, and,
Yeah. And the driveway would be,
yeah, okay.
So, and then this is another picture that's kind of important too. It's a view from the pond that shows the end of Cricket Lane right here and then the three buildings. So if you look into the future, obviously those three will be gone. The new building will be somewhere in this area here, basically at the end of Cricket Lane, just like the plans show. So as you can see, those three buildings, again, we've all seen them, they need to be taken down. But it's just going to open up that whole lower portion of those three lots because the house will be so close to Cricket Lane.
So you're really not obstructing view anyway.
this is a significant drop here.
Yeah.
It actually increases it
Yeah.
quite a lot.
And is Cricket Lane now being plowed by the town?
No.
No.
lost Pine.
The whole distance of it is not being plowed by the town?
We're hoping to get that back.
Yeah, and then,
Okay.
did you have
You wanna
another
see the
picture?
picture?
Yeah.
This is just a picture from, again, from a drone showing Cricket Lane and how you get access to it. So this is the end of Cricket Lane, and there's the beginning of the houses.
Thank you for the presentation, it was very thorough.
Thank you. Do you want me to address any questions as they come, or?
I'll call on you if necessary, thank you. Does anyone want to speak to this? I'd like to call on, is your last name Lady, Mrs. Lady?
It's Jim.
Come forward, please. How do you do? Good. Can I have your name for the record again?
Lady Farrah Jen.
Lady?
Lady Jen is easier.
And it's GEM or JEM? Okay, thank you. And just tell me where you live on Cricket Lane, what number?
24 Cricket Lane.
And show me on this plan, which is you, please.
So this is us right here.
2, okay. Thank you. That's E and E1 is Lady Jen.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, any questions you have?
Yes, I do actually. I just heard him say that his driveway is somewhere around here, although I didn't quite see it, but I think, if I may approach,
Yes, please.
I think he's referring to the driveway to be here.
What I understood him to say, and I'm going to ask him to come up and show you, because this is easier to see. This is Cricket, this is that right-of-way, and I'm going to have him show you where his driveway is going to be. Ms. Kevin, do you mind showing?
So it's shown on this plan. The driveway is going to come down here, and it's going to service the house here. You may get a better picture of it up here. So the driveway comes down at the end of Cricket Lane over the existing right-of-way, and it provides access to the house there. Does that help?
So that means it's over here.
I can't see that far. This he's saying is right-of-way that cannot be blocked or used except for access. So he's going to come here, cross over, and get onto his own, not across you,
No, it doesn't go across.
not across yours.
Well, it does, the right-of-way goes across the top of that piece, that triangular piece of property.
Right,
But it's still, the driveway's in the right-of-way. not
see,
the-
right here. He said he's going to come down Cricket Lane, he's going to cross this right-of-way, and his driveway will be on his land, his parking will be on his land.
Okay. So the only problem we have is that this is, we currently have a court litigation going right now with regards to this part right here.
Mhm.
This is the part that our predecessors have used for over 40 years. And this is really hard, it's a two-car driveway. There's a major issue with parking here on the street, but, so we're trying to, this is one of the process of the court to ensure that we retain our driveway, because this cannot be a way they can cut across. But there are spaces they certainly could use, but my concern is, maybe they're looking to block this, maybe part of their, my only concern is safety. And then my other concern is the location of the property itself, because right now, if I may just present this to the board.
Thank you.
We do have a right, we have a prescriptive right of way here, and so we're concerned about them blocking our view and access. I'm not sure,
Where's your house on these two lots?
Right there.
this to both of them.
Yeah, where's your house? Your house is down here.
And where's that, is that big shed yours?
One up next to the road?
The one, yeah, right by the road?
So,
So the parking you're talking about is just to the right of that shed?
well, the problem is, on the other side is the parking lot is the Flannery's. The Flannery, they're currently requesting a prescriptive easement over our driveway, so we cannot even use this driveway, and the shed is only there because it's either one driver or the other.
Let me stop for 1 minute, because there's a lot of people in the room. Are the Flannerys in the room? The Flannerys are in the room. What I'd like to do is, I want to just do this in a larger scale. Kevin, can you help me with this?
Sure, absolutely.
Because I want everyone to be able to see what she's talking about. If you could maybe put this up so that everyone can see it while she's talking, and tell me which house is the Flannerys. Is that
Should be what, F?
F? Okay. And before you do anything, I just want to see what she
You
handed
can't see
me.
it if you're standing in front of it.
Other side,
I mean,
I can see it, I can see it. Get on the other side, Kevin.
no, move back.
Oh, sorry.
What I've been handed is notes quoting Mass General laws and some notes concerning which lots have which rights on which parcels. I don't know where the notes have come from. I don't know who created them. I don't know if they're part of the legal argument or your own argument. I'm not going to accept those into the record. I will accept your verbal description of it, but I can't accept this because I don't know who created it and I don't know the validity of it, okay? And if that's part of a court action, that's not this board's concern. The board's concern is dimensional and zoning. But I'm going to let you speak to it so the whole board knows what your concerns are relative to those easements, okay? And I think I need you to go to it to point to it so that Kevin can help guide you. And if you'll stand maybe beside it there, I think. Rod, you need to come over, and Jonathan, you need to come over here for
I'll
the...
crane my neck if I have to.
Okay.
So who owns the triangular piece of land?
The what?
Triangular piece of land.
They
What's
do.
that? She owns it.
Would you please identify yourself for the record and raise your hand? A lot of people in the
Cheryl
room.
Kelly Hollinger, sorry.
Thank you. The triangular piece of land is hers, according to her statement. And that's what she's going to show you right now. She owns E and E1. So point to those two for everybody here, E and E1.
So this is E, and this is lot E1.
And what she's described, I think, is that in that yellow trapezoidal piece at the very top, or the westerly top of E1, that's currently a right-of-way, and it's going to be used by McAnespie's as a right-of-way. But she says that her family's been parking there as the only place to park because of the location of all the structures, and what I heard her say is some disagreement or dispute ongoing between Flannery's and what she's allowed to use. I'll have you speak next, but that's what I heard her say. So let's keep going with your questions or your concerns.
That's right. So there's a current litigation also going on at the Superior Court between the Flannerys, which is Lot F, and us right here. Basically, they currently have a prescriptive easement to use our driveway, and so that limits our use of the driveway. So we're only left with the other side. The part where the plot they're claiming is a right-of-way is actually a driveway that has been used for at least 40 years, counting back, looking at the deeds. That's what I was trying to present to the board. So basically, the deed and the use of it entitles us to the use of it. And so, and my only other concern is the building to block the easement on this side.
When you say the easement on that side, I think that plan has the easement shown in yellow. And so if there's a driveway that goes through the trapezoidal piece at the top of E1, you think if he starts parking his cars the minute he enters onto his own lot line, that you won't be able to use that easement anymore. Is that what you're saying?
Well, as long as he doesn't, as long as he doesn't depend on the 28, the area that is currently used as a driveway, as an access, expecting us not to park there.
What they represented through their engineer and their application was they do not plan to use that trapezoidal piece that you're calling 28. They do not plan to use that as parking
Okay.
or any stationary object there, not even a baby carriage. It's just an access to get onto their own lot. And what he shows in the yellow is he's depicting a right-of-way easement 3 feet on either side of the property line, 3 feet on his side and 3 feet on your side, they're not permitted to block that 3-foot passageway. It's 3 on each side, if I'm
3 on
not
each side,
mistaken.
correct,
So it's a total of a 6-foot wide passageway, which means you and others, everyone on this neighborhood that I saw on the registry deeds records can bring a wagon down there, you can bring your baby carriage down there, you can bring your children down there within that 6 foot, and Macanesby cannot block that and block anyone from doing that.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Now, what about the construction? Maybe I misunderstood, but I understand they're building a construction to block the view and the access between the B and the C.
That is not what was said. What the board was asking, is it going to obstruct anybody's access or view? What's going to happen, as I understand it, is the house is going to be mostly on B, but it doesn't fit entirely on B, so some of it will be on C. But it looks to me from the plan and from the pictures, that won't block your view. In fact, taking down the existing structures on C and D will make you have a clear view to the pond now,
Okay.
and maybe a prettier view than it is right now, hopefully, if they don't store, early Dover country store used furniture out there in tents, but yeah.
So I do understand that they will not block the access and the view.
They will not block the access, and the plan that they're showing does not block the view.
Okay.
And what we're hearing today, so far, does not block the view.
Okay. And what about the access?
They can't block, they cannot block, as I understand it, everything in yellow cannot be blocked. Is that right? Is that fair to say?
Correct. Can't be built on.
So there is, right now, there's no yellow there, but there's a proposal to put a yellow there because of a prescriptive easement that our property gained over that passageway. There is a passageway right here, but it's not currently there, but this is what the litigation is
All about.
for. And I'm getting an attorney to help me because I've been doing a lousy job. I am just so fresh at it, and so that's what it's basically going to be, because we have gained a prescriptive easement on this, going towards this direction.
When you call it a prescriptive easement, how do you define prescriptive easement? What do you think?
Basically, a shared passageway between the owners and every abutters. It says that all the abutters, there are 5 properties or 7 properties, basically A through G, that is entitled to use the passageways. And the passageways are currently between B and C, between C and D, and between D and E, as well as E and D and F.
So, when I saw your letter, and I think at this moment I'm going to read it into the record, so if you forgot to raise anything, I'll have it in front of...
Can I address that issue,
Get it.
Terry?
Go
About
ahead.
the passageways? So, so the plan, like I said, was created in 1946. They created these lots, created the right-of-ways. Portion of one right-of-way is known as Cricket Lane. The other one is this other passageway that goes down to the pond. Those are the passageways that are described in the deeds. It's implied that all the owners of those lots have rights to use those right-of-ways. Those right-of-ways can't be blocked or obstructed by any of the owners of the property. We actually have a recent court judgment that end of Cricket Lane, the right-of-way portion cannot be blocked. You have to remain, it's just like any other portion of Cricket Lane. You can't park a car there to prevent access to your property. So the Macanesbys, like the plan indicates, are not going to be parking there. They're going to be gaining access through the right-of-way, which they're certainly entitled to do. So the passageways, whether they're prescriptive or not, they don't apply to going down those lot lines. They go down to the lines as shown.
I want to just change what you just said and also address what you just said, and hopefully I'm saying it correctly. When I saw your email come through this week, I went ahead and started to pull the deeds. I didn't pull all the deeds. I pulled the Flannery deed, I pulled the 46 deed where it says they got created. And I pulled your deed, Lady Jen. And I have the McAnespie deeds in front of me. All of them say it almost the same way, but they basically say a strip of land 3 feet wide on the westerly and northerly sides of said lot, whichever lot it is, and a strip of land 5 feet wide on the easterly side of said lot, all as shown on the plan, are to be kept open, forever open, as a common passageway for the use of the owner and occupants of this parcel and all other parcels shown on said plan hereinbefore referred to. Now, that's shown on the plan. Kevin has highlighted it in yellow, and you just referenced it as an implied easement. It's a granted stated easement, not an implied easement, and it shows up in the Flannery deed, the Lady Gem deed, the McAnespie deed, and it references every other lot on the plan, and since none of you all raised your hand and said, look at mine, I didn't, but I see that your lots are all shown on the plan, and you're all eligible for the benefit of that easement. What I had asked earlier is, how does everybody get to the water? Because that's what the easement was for, to provide passage to the water. And that yellow is the way you get to the water. Kevin said it no longer touches the water completely down below F and G, but that's because the water has receded, not because the owners of F and G's land extended. You just said, I think, that you have, since you bought the place, been using the easement up until a point, maybe arbitrarily, maybe there's a path that was there historically that you've been using to get to the water that probably didn't disturb the houses on B, C, and D, which weren't occupied for the longest period of time. I don't know that we have any power to say the fact that you used it gave you prescriptive rights or implied rights to it. What we can see in the record is the yellow has to be kept open, and you still will be able to get to the water on the yellow. What the court decides on whether or not you can come across the middle of McAnespie's new lot that they're creating, I don't think our decision will change that. You still have the right to be in front of a judge to say, for 25 years or more, we and the prior owners have gone right down the middle of the McAnespie's 3 lots to get to the water. That's not before this board today. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does, but there's a particular error that I'm trying to make, one that is that affects this claim of a yellow line below the 28. The deed that suggests a parcel is actually not that parcel. The parcel is actually above that parcel. The parcel it's referring to is the 27 by 70 by 28, not...
Show me that, please.
So on the deed, I have one of the deeds here. That's why I wanted to... So if you go back to the 1946 deed, dated 6/9. Let me get my glasses. So looking at the very first deed of the 14, okay, so just using my deed, since I really did earn the book number is 6986, page 200. That is the 1408 parcel. So just looking at my deed, you said you have my deed. It says, so with reference to this part here, below the 28, The only reason it's highlighting the below the 28 as a parcel is the second paragraph that says, and a parcel of land on the easterly side. Right now, my attorney is consulting with a land surveyor who claims that the parcel requires two sides. So it is not the area below the 28. That is actually a driveway. It's the area above the 28. That's the parcel of land it's referring to. So this is an ongoing litigation, and they've got a preliminary judgment, so it's not the final. Just wanted to make sure that our side is presented and understood. As to deeded easement between the B and C, if you permit me, I can, since you don't want this.
Here's what I'm gonna
It's basically, I typed it on here, as well as a couple of the deeds to support.
Well, I have your deed, and you're right, your deed does read a little bit differently than the others. However, it's not within the board's power to address the easement and access that you're talking about. The board can see by the presentation that there is a right of access to the beach stated in the McAnespie deeds. I can say to the McAnespies, as a condition of any grant that we make, that they are prevented from blocking the 3-foot easement that's shown on the plan. They're prevented from parking on the right-of-way as shown on the plan. I can't address an implied easement or any easements that you claim are in your deed. I can only see what's in their deed. That's all that we have before us. If you prevail in a lawsuit, or if you hire a lawyer, the lawyer may say, let's stop the process or progress on this unless and until the McAnespies and you can reach an agreement to relocate what you believe to be a rightful easement. But this board doesn't have any jurisdiction over that. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. My only concern is if they've started building it, and, well, I guess if you can make a condition that says that they do not block, but it looks like you're only basing it off of the plan alone without the deed.
I can only base it off of the plan in front of us because that's all we have. We have your objection on the record.
Okay.
McAnespies have heard your objection.
Okay.
If they build on an easement that is currently in dispute in litigation,
Right.
they have to be aware they're taking some risk that you may prevail.
Thank you very much, Mom.
Oh, okay, they heard you, we heard you. And if you hire an attorney, I'm sure their attorney will get in touch with Mr. Conover. If your attorney thinks that you have a high degree of prevailing and their house is interfering, I'm sure they will discuss before the McAnespies break ground and put a foundation in.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you very
Does that
much.
seem like it's a reasonable approach to all of this?
Yes.
Ms. Cowley, yes.
Question. The gravel turnaround area located at the end of the right-of-way, whose property is that on? It looked like it's on her property. Is it in the prescriptive easement? I'm trying to
I don't want
understand
please don't use the word prescriptive
Or the
easement.
easement.
In her easement. That trapezoidal yellow at the end of Cricket Lane looks like it's on her property.
So this one is, this is not a prescriptive easement. This is more like an adverse possession or part of our property. I don't know if that answers your...
E1 is almost a triangular shaped lot. Above E1 on the westerly side is a trapezoidal piece that says 28 point, I can't see it, 28 point, what's that say, 28.0?
Plus or minus.
28.0. That yellowed trapezoid looks like it's on her property, but it is a right-of-way that's been deeded to all of the lots here.
So is the gravel turnaround located entirely in that area?
You're the most familiar, Mr. Cronin.
Yeah, there's a portion of it that is outside of that right-of-way, but it's used as access for the abutter.
Which abutter? Lady?
Yeah, Lady Jim, is that it? So, again, what that the McAnespies are trying to do is just use their legal access to gain access to their property. And I just want to reiterate that we have a court ruling that's maybe not even a month old that states that nobody can prevent access down that right-of-way.
So is the problem, you've been parking and blocking that access?
Yes.
And you don't have anywhere else to park?
That's right.
So that's the problem. Is there a way to create some parking space for her and still give them everything they want?
That is not, again, before this board, and has apparently been a litigated matter for as many years as when you called me down there 4 years ago. So that's not before this board. And I think what she's calling a prescriptive easement, you may mean an easement by necessity, meaning
No, ma'am.
they're calling prescriptive.
No. Are you referring to this part? I am not calling this part a prescriptive
Okay.
easement. It is not shared whatsoever. It's on our property.
It's on your property, but it's a deeded right-of-way to the others.
Only 3 feet, only 3 feet is deeded, only 3 feet.
So again,
And the
the
rest is used
McAnespies are
as a
not going to
driveway.
park on that, they're just going to use that to gain access to their property.
Do you said there's a judgment that the
I have it.
McAnespies can use that piece for access?
They are going to use a portion of that piece for access. As the plan shows, we're hugging that driveway as close to Gail McKenna's property as possible. So we're not going to adversely affect.
Who's Gail McKenna?
It's right here. So our driveway is coming as close to that property line as possible.
But there's a possibility
It's George Jones here.
that, not a great possibility, but there is a possibility that if Lady Gem prevails in the lawsuit, they won't have access to this new house you're building?
No, I think what she's trying to say is that there's prescriptive access or an easement across that property line.
That I got.
No, that's part, you're correct. What you just said is absolutely correct. That if we gain, right now we are using it, not the whole area, because the judge, there's an issue of turning around, there's a major issue of parking. Anyway, so there's a preliminary order not to park as far in, but if at the end of the case, if we gain full rights of our property, they will not be able to cut across. So that is an issue I am raising up. And although there's a major land here, and I also discovered that Lot A provides a major about 11,000 square feet that the 7 lots are supposed to share. I wanted to bring that up with my attorney to find out basically, if that area is the undeveloped land across where people can park, So I just wanted to,
Okay, so that lot A is shown on the plan, there's actually a house on that lot.
Lot A?
Yeah.
Who owns Warner?
It's undeveloped, there are bushes
house
there.
in
There's a
Warner.
house,
Warner owns that.
Warner's house.
right, and then I think there's another house here. So
owns
it's not
G?
vacant.
Who owns G, please?
I don't know who owns G, sorry.
That is a.
Warner's.
It's the Warner's property.
Give me your name, please.
Hi, Carla Flannery. I own F with my husband, Robert Flannery. The Warners own that land G going down. It does not have a dwelling on it.
And do the Warners have a dwelling on A?
Yes. Yes, that is they have a dwelling on A.
And just out of curiosity, do all of you use that 3-foot either side passageway to go to the water?
No.
Oh, I got a yes and I got a no, Bob, but
People that live on the water don't need to use it, so the people on Cricket Lane that don't live on the water do use it to walk through.
And right behind you, what's your name again?
Gail McKenna,
Gail McKenna.
29.
And you're 29, and you say, yes, you use that access way.
No, I said some of the neighbors do.
And when they use that access way, do they go all the way down to the bottom of F and G to get to the water? Or do they go across the McAnespie's BC?
No, they go down. They haven't gone in many years because a lot of them had kids grown, and a lot of the neighbors did not know that this existed until the lawsuit started. So I expect to see others.
My favorite thing is Lake Erie. Just as a side note, I got my fanny spanked in Westford at NAB yesterday, so I'm very sensitive to this. I was representing a client and I did not do well. So, very sensitive to Lake area properties. And what passion you all bring to it historically and what passion you bring to it, everybody, I really am sympathetic. There was a hand over here. Behind you, please. Did you have your hand up?
No.
Oh, okay. Did you?
I was just to comment on the
Oh, sorry, your name.
My name is Susan Clark,
Susan.
2 Cricket Lane. To comment on the lawsuit, we have a judgment that was issued December 9th of 2022, and that's the preliminary injunction, and then we have an active contempt of court order that was issued on April 2nd.
I don't really want the details.
Okay.
I think it's not this board's purview, but where's number 2 Cricket?
Number 2 Cricket is if you were coming from that Spectacle Pond Road, right?
Yep.
Yep. So it's about halfway down the street.
So you're not on this map at all?
I'm not on the map.
Okay. And Kevin, you were in court recently
Correct.
on this easement that goes between B, C, and D that Lady Gem is talking about.
Not particularly in that one, more of the turnaround easement. The easement's up by the lots E and E1.
And the turnaround easement is in what I keep calling the trapezoid.
Correct, exactly. So the whole purpose of the whole court filing was not to block access to the McAnespie's property.
Who filed not to block access? McAnespie?
Correct, right.
Okay.
And the judgment was order, I have it with me, it just basically says, and I highlighted the portion that says they're not allowed to, nobody is allowed to block access. And just like if there's other lots further up on Cricket Lane, you can't block access. Just like any other road, you can't block access. And that's all the judgment was for.
And was it a final judgment or an interim? It just because the problem I'm hearing and having is this isn't just like Cricket Lane, it's her property. There's a right-of-way, and what she's described is that she hasn't seen in print the right-of-way for that trapezoid. It exists on a map. I'm not sure I see it in print on her deed, and I'm not doing a title search on this right now, but that I think is the problem. And so I think we're back to where that's not this board's jurisdiction, but as I said before, they heard you, we heard you, it's on the record, and I guess they're at risk if the court rules that you can keep them from gaining access to their property. They're at risk, so I think it's incumbent on everyone to either work together or get a final judgment or an order from the court or something to make sure that once you start doing something on this lot, we have nothing to do with that. All this board can do is to say whether we can grant you a variance or a special permit. That doesn't mean we're granting you legal access. It doesn't mean we're denying you any access. Do you understand?
Right. So are you approving them? Okay, from what I understand, they're not building. You're not approving them to build to block any view or access, right?
Correct.
Okay.
That's
Thank you.
correct.
Thank you.
And they've represented in their presentation, they do not intend to block any view or access. And I'll make sure that goes in a condition of the decision, any view or access to your property, to any other property on this plan.
Yes. Thank you, Madam.
You're welcome. Now, I just would like to read into the record, and I'm sorry this meeting is taking longer than you're used to, board, but I think it's pretty interesting. Nobody's smiling. You don't want to go home?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Room 103.
Turned it off early, he tells me. Thank you.
Okay, we're back.
I'm sure she'll be glad of it.
With the Littleton Zoning Board of Appeals, we're back on the record. We had an unfortunate medical situation, and we went off only to allow the EMTs and everybody to do what they needed to do. But we're still nearing the end of a hearing, and I think we've accepted most of the presentation, all of the board questions, and abutter comments. Do any other abutters wish to be heard? Board members, do you want to close or do you want to ask any other questions before we close?
Just have one more, which is if the cars are parked at the end of E1, I believe, can you still access, or it was hard to tell at the site this morning and from the plans, if there's a car parked there, is there still enough room between Gail's property and?
My understanding, we've had 3 different surveys done. You know, I'm Peter McInnesby, excuse me. Ross did a survey, Ms. Jem had a survey done, and the Mass Land Court reviewed the surveys, and they were all in agreement on the way that this is, you know, the way that it's an easement, and all of Cricket Lane is an easement. You know, Susan Clark owns 2, and owns the Cricket Lane. When you drive down, you're driving on her property. Same as, you know, anyone else, they either own halfway into the street or, you know, all of the street in front of their, you know, respective houses.
I can speak to that.
Well, but I'm clear on the easement. I guess the part, though, is if a car is parked in, like this photo here, can you still squeeze by, or is it blocking entirely?
I was out there, there wouldn't be enough room.
It was hard for me to tell this morning when I was there, just to check it out.
Plan shows 28 feet, and I think you said a 12-foot driveway.
Right.
So if you're up against the property line, that would leave 14 feet.
Right, so again, as long as the easement isn't, you know, access isn't denied, then she could find some room to park, I assume, on her property or
She being Lady Jem.
correct.
Right, and the court order says, you know, that trapezoidal area is referred to as the E1 easement area. And then, you know, the turnaround area, the 2 spots of the, you know, the end of the street. And in the court order, it says there will be no parking in the E1 easement area or in the turnaround area. Those areas are to be remain clear. And that's from, you know, Judge Rubin with, you know, Mass Land Court.
That's the court order that's most recent.
Correct.
I had someone behind Kevin said she wanted to speak to that.
I just wanted to speak
Your name
to...
again, please.
My name's Jennifer Oliveira. I live at 15 Cricket Lane, and part of our property is on Cricket Lane as well. And we don't park.
You're Jennifer Oliveira. You're not on this map.
No.
And what the gentleman, McInnesby, just said is some people own the whole of Cricket Lane, some people own to the midpoint of Cricket Lane, but it's always subject to the right of passage. That refers to private ways generally in Massachusetts. If you own one side of a private way and someone else owns the other side, you both own to the midpoint. But if somebody owns both sides, they own the whole of it, and that's what's referenced here. What I understand from Lady Jem is that because she has whatever dispute going on with Flannery's that prevents her from parking on that side of her property, and because she has a shed and elevation changes, she's made the statement that she has nowhere else she can park. That's what I heard her say. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Cheryl Cowell. Looking at the trapezoidal area, and looking at the gravel area that you're putting, not all of that gravel area is in the trapezoidal area. is that correct?
That's existing, though, that's not proposed.
Oh, that's
existing.
what is existing.
Right. If you look- oh,
So
sorry.
she could technically park on the far side of this gravel area, and she would not be blocking the, is that correct?
That's correct. So again, the judgment is that they cannot prevent access to the McAnespie's property.
Like, she can park anywhere as long as that
Correct.
you can get by it, right?
You can park on her
It's
property.
it's a steep hill, it's a difficult situation.
Right. So you have to think of the vintage of when the plan was created in 1946. These are all camps
Right.
for people from Boston, so they didn't really think a lot of things through, but we're kind of stuck with the consequences.
Well, a horse could have parked there, and you could have
This
gotten by,
area of
right?
gravel is totally on her property.
I don't mean to make light of this is a serious matter, but I would like to read into the record the letters that we did get. The letter addressed from Lady DeGem, from Lady DeGem, but addressed to the building inspector. References several things, and I think we talked about them all, but I'm just going to read them into the record. She says, driving through the passageway on Northwest Lot E1 because it was meant to be used by foot for safety reasons, was one of her questions or comments. Mass law says that people cannot do new construction to block a defined view. Please see the plans, and I spoke to that. We're going to try to put something about the view in the decision. The next one says there's no parking for an all-around season living except on the street in the summer. The next one says my main entrance, which is below the 28.0 boundary line, has been used for over 40 years for ingress, egress, and parking of at least 2 cars, which is not enough to share. Next number, my shed is within the boundary outside of the easement, within my boundary outside of the easement. So the shed isn't in the easement area, it is on her land. The shed is required due to the condition of the house. Without the shed, we still couldn't park there because the Flannery property has a preliminary injunction to use that side of my driveway. The 17.70 by 53.92 parcel of land needs to be leveled for use instead of looking to steal other people's property. And the final comment was, the community or the town needs to talk about the portion of the undeveloped land that is on Lot A across from 24 Cricket Lane. Lot A was part of Gail McKenna's property deeded for use by lots B, C, D, E, F, and G. And again, that's not the purview of this board about the deeds and the easements. So that was her letter into the record. And then I had a letter from Amy Green, Conservation, dated March 11th, 2024. Did you see that comment?
I did not know.
I'll just read it. Amy Green says, I've looked at the plans dated March 2024, which is the subject of a variance request to ZBA. Conservation Commission did issue an order of conditions approving the plan dated August 6, 2021, Mass DEP order number, and we have that in our package. A proposed amendment was submitted with a plan date of May 12, 2023, but the commission did not accept that amendment as per the meeting of June 6, 2023. It should be noted that almost the entire property, including the demolition of the other 2 houses, is within the restricted 50-foot no disturbance area under the Littleton Wetlands bylaw, but that a waiver was issued. And then it said, I would request that the engineer applicant confirm that the plans submitted and associated grading, holding tank, and other features to the ZBA is consistent with the August 2021 plan approved by the commission. It does appear that the approved northern deck is wider and that the approved deck stairs on the eastern side of the house has been removed. Now, I'm reading those into the record because they're part of the package. Again, this board doesn't make a decision based on conservation, and it would be up to the applicant to make sure the conservation orders are updated and approved. So even if we decide in your favor on this, you're still not past what looks to be a March 2024 objection on conservation, old order of conditions. And the court orders, whatever the court decides. Okay. Any other questions?
I would like to have some comfort level of the variance versus special permit, and perhaps you could ask the applicant to just walk through the findings as if it was going to be a variance, and if we decide that it is a special permit, then that's just boots, it's no
Okay.
belt and suspenders.
So, board member has asked the applicant to please explain to us how this lot is unique and different from any other lot owing to soil shape or topography.
Sure, absolutely. So,
And then what is the hardship?
so with the variance, you need a hardship. It's pretty obvious by the topography of the land, the size of the lots, and the location of the existing structures that a hardship exists. Topographically, dimensionally. Again, the proposed house that we're proposing is going to be, it's not increasing any nonconformities of the existing house. We're actually making them more conforming in terms of the setback. We're never going to get away with the lack of frontage. We're never going to get away with the lack of area of the property. So the variance, could be an option. And again, it's the hardship issue. And I think this property definitely has topographical hardships, size hardships. The location of the existing structures are non-conforming, not even close to conforming. And we're meeting all the setbacks with exception of one. And that's showing is 6 feet off the property line, whereas the existing house was about 2 feet off the property line. So the variance can certainly be entertained. And we'll go with whatever the board's decision is on that.
Are you satisfied with these?
So I get I definitely understand that where a little enforcement provisions would constitute a substantial hardship. And I'm almost there on the unique circumstances owing to the soil consistency, not the size, but the shape of the lot or the topography. I can see that the topography might conspire to cause you to locate the house in a certain way, but still getting to the area issue and the frontage issue.
Can I ask you, of those three structures, are all of them not abandoned? That was a bad sentence. Have they been abandoned, all three, or 2 out of 3?
I believe they're all.
I can speak to that. All three are deplorable condition. The one down closest to the water looks great from the outside, but if you go in, you can see the floor is just complete waves, because it was built on concrete blocks and things like that. And when they had the flood, 2010, right? Was that the year, 2010? Just the water level came up and just ruined it. So the outside looks great, but on the inside, I only go a couple feet inside to put my fishing rod.
When was the last time you used it?
Define use, I walked in, put my fishing rod like the day of the eclipse. So, but you can't use it per se,
You do,
It's used as a storage building.
in one section of it.
and the other 2, you just haven't used at all?
Oh, you can't go there,
Because part of me is thinking, John, that if any of these can satisfy the criteria of not having been abandoned, then the applicant has a right to change, extend, or alter and have a house there, right according to zoning and a right according to Board of Health and DEP Title V. So if one could accept the argument that one of them is usable and could be rebuilt, this board might be able to get to a place where we agree that what the applicant's trying to do in taking the 2 deplorable ones down and combining the lot is bettering everything. That it's not substantially derogating from the intent and purpose of the bylaw. And I think when you have lake lots with no frontage, which is all over the place at Beaverbrook, not Beaverbrook, what's, Green Needles and that whole area. Almost none of those have frontage. So I think that uniqueness is that there's a pre-existing non-conforming structure that is still at least serviceable as a fishing lodge or a fishing location and storage unit that has no frontage. And so I think that gets you past the frontage problem if I need to. But I think I mean, we can close the hearing, then deliberate.
The other question I had is, are there any facilities in the pre-existing?
Septic?
Yeah.
I believe there is a cesspool for each one of them.
Okay.
Is that
So-
true?
I don't know. I know the 30 and 28 were built in 1930, and the 26, the one closest to the water, but, you know, down at the bottom, was built in 1960. What they did, you know, I doubt out, but...
So a tight tank is probably a better protection for the lakefront.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Just to define what a tight tank is, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's just a big concrete structure that holds all the effluent.
And
It
this-
doesn't seep into the ground, doesn't permeate into the ground. The only problem is, and they use these a lot down on the Cape and stuff when you get close to the water, it just has to be pumped more often than a normal septic tank.
A lot more.
Well, depending on the use, obviously, but in terms of environmental, it's a self-contained unit. It's
What did the Board of Health allow?
a tight tank.
We're ready to close? Anybody? Rick?
Yeah, move it.
Satisfied.
Okay. You move to close. Rod moves to close, and second?
I second.
Jonathan, second. Okay, John Sewell has been unusually quiet tonight, so I'm going to go to you first.
Well, I had questions earlier. So, there are a couple issues that have been brought up, and I was concerned about, parking and so forth, and that question was answered to my acceptance. I know that someone also has brought up the question of visibility to the lake, and I think tearing down the 3 buildings and building a new one improves everybody's overall outlook toward the lake. You're just not looking over a shack that's about to fall down. I think I'm not sure which direction that is, but 24 faces the lake, and this side view, which is a side door, will lose a little bit of view of the lake, because the new house comes down further than the one, highest up on whatever that lot is, Lot B. So they'll lose a little bit of view there, but overall, I don't think that's a big deal. I think you've got a great view, especially with the other 2 houses missing, and all the trash sitting in that area. One of the things that struck me when I was looking at it and looking at the right-of-ways and stuff and going, yeah, it's nice to put on a plan of 6-foot right-of-way, but most of where the right-of-way runs doesn't look like it's really, you can actually walk down it. You try to go down those right-of-ways, I think you'd hurt yourself. So, I'm happy, satisfied with their need. I'm a little concerned of, whether we should, do it as a variance so that we cover all the bases in case someone comes up. I heard the comment about combining the 3 lots, and therefore you lose your ability to just make a change. And then would solve, a future having to come back and do it again. I think it's the overall project is a great improvement for the area. And it's to me, that makes sense. I am kind of surprised. I didn't realize Cricket Lane. I was just looking at the plan on Google where I can actually see the property lines, and sure enough, it doesn't run down the property line. Sometimes it just dips right in. People own the whole road and feet on the other side of the road.
As a side note, and just because it's interesting information, Cricket Lane actually takes a split
I saw that.
before it comes to this house. And I represented a client on the other side of the split who was trying to use Cricket Lane for frontage to do a subdivision over there. And we had a long history and battle in this town of saying which part of Cricket Lane is the recognized public and private way. So Cricket Lane's kind of a funny little street there.
It's also got a very funny numbering system.
Yeah, and the other thing that's interesting is that lady, I just saw it tonight, but Lady Gemsteed says she's also got a right over Hazard Way to the lake, and I don't think Hazard Way is anywhere near this, is it? So that's an interesting call out in that deed. Whatever that deed goes back to, somebody way back then made a mistake in calling it Hazard Way and not Cricket Lane. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. That was John Sewell. Okay, let me go to Rod next. You've been quiet tonight.
Okay, I think that you can make the argument that they're rebuilding that one house, as far as whether it's a variance or not, and whether the lots are combined or not. And the fact that the other two coming down is, I think, a bonus. Also, as far as the hardship goes, the way the lots and everything are, they don't have frontage. They just have an access. And that, I think, is a hardship as well, to try to build on this property. And it might be nice if once they finish building the house, they cleared that pathway down to the beach or whatever, to the lake.
How about,
So I do see the hardship with it. The elevation change, having visited the site, looking at the plans, the proposed location being kind of overlapping with the previous home, there's an extension to it, but I think it's done in a way that obstructs the least amount of the view for putting something on the property. I think it is worthwhile for the conditions that were mentioned as far as any approval. I think cleaning up the site is going to be beneficial, not just for the view of any of the neighbors, but also for any kind of conservation impact of those falling into the water. I mean, the roof is completely gone on one of them. The other one has no doors or windows. I mean, they're ready to come down. And I think as long as the applicants, I mean, we're not ruling on this or making any decision, but as long as they're aware that if that right-of-way is changed, that there's risk associated with that, I would go with approving it.
and John?
Well, I go back to one of Mr. Vance's observation about the building plans. It mentions ranch, but it looks like a cape. And there's only one floor plan, so I know that it's on the design flow listed as 2 bedrooms. So I think that at the building permit stage, the plans would have to be better defined to make sure that it is a ranch with the ground floor at the front elevation and the basement as being the lower level.
There is the other plans did show a second floor plan, I believe the basement.
Mm-hmm.
I think my comment from before still stands. Those windows on the second level do appear as though
They're celestial windows.
Second floor or something, but we asked about it and they did say there's no second floor.
I think you could condition the variance on that because what you have is a tight lot and the ability to condition this variance so that we don't get a height that's going to be more obstructing of the view than what was presented here tonight, which is what we're passing on.
That's a fairly tall roof, a 12 pitch, so there's definitely room underneath that for a second floor. But it doesn't.
If it's a 12 pitch and you said it satisfies the zoning height requirement, does that mean from grade to the ridge line is the 32 foot? Is that what
At least
it means?
that's on the front.
Pardon me?
That's a 12 pitch on the front.
Yeah, it's a shed dormer on the back.
There's an elevation.
The shed dormer would be facing the lake?
Yes.
I don't think then that we can do anything about the height because as he presented, we're already at the building height limitation, so we don't need to pass on that because he can't go any higher, okay. Whether it's a cape or a ranch, I guess it doesn't matter, he's got a steep roof on it.
I guess the only other part on that second one would be the question that I do see the stairs that would go down to the basement, and again, there's no stairs going up to a second floor. It's just the one flight going down.
If they created second floor living space within that roof pitch, actually, if that's modular, are those trusses, Mr. McAnespie, are those trusses?
I haven't inquired about that.
Yeah, okay. If they do finish it on the interior, that's subject to a building permit and the Board of Health permit, so it's not ours either.
Okay.
It's a
Yeah.
tight tank.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's constraining the number of
yeah,
bedrooms.
okay. And I think it's got a 2-bedroom deed restriction that has to be recorded of record. Okay. I don't have anything more or less to add. I think the board did a really good job of understanding it all. I was leaning toward special permit only because we don't have to work so hard to get to the variance criteria, but I do agree with both of you that once you combine the lots, you've got a whole new lot going on. And I think we're safer to call it a variance.
And I think there's the hardships there in multiple different ways.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
you know, from the size of the lot to distances away from lot, to topography is, you know, it was tough just walking down from where I parked the car to go down into the middle of the lot.
Yeah. Okay, and then, I'll take a motion. Anybody want to try it?
Can we motion to take a vote?
Grant a variance.
Okay. Yeah, I move to make a motion to grant a variance.
Wait till I have the paperwork. Get right into it.
Pursuant to.
You need to,
I think he was at 17310.
that's why I was looking for that piece, where the
Should I go back to the first page?
document.
17310 and 173.
She's gonna rewrite it for you
31.
anyway.
That's all right. I'll go back to the first page here. That has those notes.
It'd be on the agenda.
Is it on this one?
173 6B2 is a variance.
73, 6B2.
Is a variance.
Which page are you on? That one there?
I'm just
Because
looking
I think
at it
you
from
wrote
here,
that as a
173,
special
6B2.
permit.
The special permit is 17310.
Yeah, okay. So I make a motion to approve a variance under section, or would it be under
Grant it,
section?
yeah, yeah.
To grant a variance under section 173-6-B2.
And then allow construction of,
And allow construction of the, should I put the conditions of the ranch-style home proposed today in the plans, reviewed by the planning board, with the conditions of the ranch style as presented, with height restriction that just doesn't obstruct the view.
well, we're going to
Well,
just
it's like
say,
32
we're going to
feet,
say
was it?
pursuant to the
32.
plans, because it's up to the building inspector relative to the height
All
restriction.
better.
We're not going to add that.
Okay.
And pursuant to the plans means, we're not saying not obstruct the view, because it will in fact obstruct the view to the right of,
You should look down toward the lake.
as you look down toward the lake, but not the left. So rather than not obstruct the view, no more obstruction of view than shown on the plans, okay?
That's fair.
Yes.
And then, we said also, I wanted to get in there, and not to block the access on any of the easements shown on the plan.
Do we list the nonconformities?
Not on a variance. We list the hardship criteria, which you've all given me, and I've taken notes on, but thank you. Second, I gotta write this. Not to greater obstruction of view than is shown. And not to block any of the easements shown on the presentation plans. And I think I want to say, provided the 3 lots are combined to form one buildable lot,
Yes.
right? Yes?
Does that make sense?
Anyone else? Okay, anybody want a second?
Second,
Second.
third?
Too late. Second. Jonathan, and then, and I don't know where I'm writing things. Jonathan, and then Rod. Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes and the grant of variance is made. You know that there's a 20-day appeal period.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I just got a text from Susan, Gail's awake.
Is she all right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we don't need that kind of excitement.
Want a motion
You
to
want
close
your,
for-
I move we close the meeting.
Second, please.
Second.
That was Rod and
Adjourn, I
then
guess.
John to close. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none.